shooter game on Facebook, and they are based in a country where Facebook doesn't exist. Couldn't care less. They have nice developers in China, they live in Beijing, that's where they want to live. One of their 3D developers sits in Libya, because he doesn't want to leave Libya for some reason. He lives in a village that doesn't have a bank, so they have to send envelopes with money through the mail every month to pay the guy's salary. But he has internet, and he's a world leader in this specific program that they are using. Here's a company of 15 people doing the biggest, most popular Facebook game in first-person shooters, but they're not a Chinese company, they're not a French company, they're not a Libyan company, they are a game development company. So I would like to give you one example, not that comes about what it means to be a global brand, but what it means to be a global company. And I would like to exemplify that with a company called Volvo. Not Volvo Cars, which now is the Chinese, but a company called Volvo Trucks. Volvo Trucks is what? The company. If you play along the old-fashioned way of thinking, Chinese, Swedish, and so on. Volvo Trucks is? Swedish, right? The brand is Swedish. Started by a Swede 100 years ago, 1907 or something like that. But if you are the CEO of Volvo, the company, not the brand, what are you CEO of? You're CEO of this. The last 10, 20 years, Volvo has started to go from being a Swedish company with a Swedish brand, selling that internationally, to becoming a truly global truck and big stuff kind of machine company. So if you're the CEO of Volvo, you are in charge of the Volvo brand, but you're also in charge of the UD trucks, the Renault brand, the Mack brand, which is an American truck company, the SDLG, which is a Chinese construction machinery industry. You have an Indian brand, you have an American bus company, and so on. Now, what is Volvo Trucks, the company? It is a truck, bus, and construction company, period. And they are still using the brands because an American wouldn't buy a Swedish truck. Because I'm American, I'm going to buy an American truck. And a Swede says, I'm Swedish, I'm going to buy a Swedish car. And the Indian says, I'm Indian, I'm going to buy an Indian truck. What they don't realize is that behind the scenes, Volvo is now making it one truck company. Meaning, all the R&D for engines for small trucks is being made in one R&D center and then given to all those truck companies. They have one procedure, starting to implement one procedure on how you produce, one way of doing the seating, and then use that for all their brands. Behind the scenes, they are transforming it into a global company which brands just because the customer is not ready to let go of nationalistic car brands just yet. So I interviewed the CEO of Volvo Trucks. And I said, for 100 years, you're a Swedish international company, and for 3 years, you have started to redefine your company as being a global company. Give me one example of how you have done that. And he told me, I'll give you a good story that you can tell people. He said to me, take a guess. What is the corporate language of Volvo? And I go, English? Yeah, of course it's English. But what kind of English do you think it is? Is it American English, British English, Oxford English, Swinglish? What is the language of Volvo Trucks? And I said, I don't know, British English? He says, no, actually we talk about bad English. So what is bad English? He said, bad English is what you are speaking, he said to me. I speak bad English. Bad English is what the non-native English speakers speak. Bad English means if you are a Brit and you are very, very good in English and you go to South Korea and you meet with an employee in South Korea and the South Korean doesn't understand what you're talking about, it's not the South Korean's fault. It is the Brit's fault because he's speaking too complicated English. Now, bad English means that the South Korean is suddenly empowered to speak the English that he can speak, the best English that he can speak, but he will now speak up. And you get people communicating on a more even plane. And this is an interesting statistics. Out of all the conversations that are happening in English in the world in a specific day, how many percent are between two people where both are native English speakers? Take a guess. 4%. That means 96% of all the conversation in English is between at least one person who is not native in the language, including all the conversations that you will have with me in English. That's a conversation where one is not native English speaking. 96%. That means that the official English language of the world is bad English, and that's what companies should implement. In 2007, I was living in China, and they were preparing for the Beijing Olympics. You sure you remember? 2008, Beijing Olympics. They were preparing like crazy, building new buildings, stadiums, everything. This was when China was going to show